Texans top 5 free agents to keep and how to handle Jonathan Grenard and Dalton Schultz. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle is what we really do.
How should Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans play it in free agency? What a difference a year makes. First year in 3 years that there's not a coaching search for Nick Caserio. First year that there's high expectations, and first year you're trying to get over the hump instead of just trying to put out a competent football team. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me 10 to 2 Central Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. How do Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans handle this thing? More money, more problems, more success, more expectations, but more success in a completely different way to handle free agency. Last year, we saw the Texans churn the roster a lot. Should they do that now, or should they be looking to keep their own guys, starting with Jonathan Grenard? First question of this video is, should the Texans keep Jonathan Grenard? The answer for me is probably not. Depending on what the market says, I love what Jonathan Grenard did last year, but edge guys, if Jonathan Grenard's going to get his max market value, and let's say the projection goes up near the $18 million range, the answer for me would be no. I would let the market speak. And if Jonathan Grenard gets a great deal like that, I would tip the cap. Now, I personally wouldn't have extended Titus Howard either. And if you were asking me to pay Titus Howard close to what the market would pay him in the best case scenario, or Jonathan Grenard, I would lean towards Jonathan Grenard, but that's not the case. They elected to pay Titus Howard. Hopefully he comes back and he validates the belief that they had in him when they made him one of the highest paid right tackles in the league. But when you have a good football team, you're going to have to make tough decisions. You anticipate Will Anderson taking that next step and elevating his play. You anticipate DeMeco Ryans being able to help guys reach their full potential on that side of the rock on defense. So Jonathan Grenard, if he's going to get his max market value, then I would tip my cap to him. Now, there are some projections that say, 12, 13 mil a year, in which case I think you got to strongly consider that. Maybe people look at the durability questions, the injuries, and they say, look, we don't want to give you a long-term deal. If that's the case, then maybe he comes back to you and it makes sense. But as far as just paying the maximum potential market value, no, thank you. Same thing with Dalton Schultz. For me, it's deja vu with Dalton Schultz. Last year, Dalton Schultz, the market spoke to him. I think the original projections were 3 years, 30, 35, 40 million. It was a deep tight end draft, not the case this year. And you ended up signing him on a 1-year deal for $9 million. I would do the same thing with Dalton Schultz. Let him test the market. They've both earned the right to do it, both Grenard and Schultz. Let them play it out and then charge it to the game if they end up getting more. If it ends up being team friendly, bring him in and continue to improve the team around him. So let the market speak to Grenard. Let him do what he's earned the right to do. Same thing with Dalton Schultz. My 5 must keeps, and these aren't the biggest names. I just think it's important based on the market value. And the other thing to keep in mind, it is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. The other thing to keep in mind here is that the Texans are going to be shopping in a much different way for free agents. They're still going to be looking to improve the roster, but players are going to want to actually be here. There's no longer the Texans tax or guys coming into situations with the unknown. I heard Jimmy Ward say the other day, "Nah, I did not." I did not expect this team to be as good as they were. I would be lying to you if I said that. I think a lot of guys who came here felt that same way. A lot of guys who came here didn't have other options. But with where the Texans are, and it can fall off at any time, it could be the start of something great. But with where they are, the quality of free agent that they're potentially getting, it has increased significantly. My 5 must keeps. Number 5, you're going to laugh, Kaimi Fairbairn. Look, I know that he missed the field goal against the Ravens. I know he missed the extra point, but he was solid last year. Kickers are cheap. If you find someone to replace Kaimi Fairbairn, cool. But even if you get what you got from Kaimi Fairbairn last year, you don't have to worry about it. You don't want to be the Detroit Lions. You don't want to be some of these teams that have kicking issues to where it ends your season. Kaimi Fairbairn's been solid. He's been one of the staples in one of the best special teams units in the NFL the last couple of years. If you can keep Fairbairn, I think it's very important to do that. And if you want to replace him, if you want to draft someone young, fine, but have Kaimi Fairbairn in camp, especially at the price. Kickers are not easy to find. Number 4, we're sticking with special teams. Cam Johnston. We saw the Texans in 4 games without Cam Johnston. It sucked. He's a weapon. He's one of the best punters in the league. Cam Johnston would be number 4 for me. Bring him back. Same thing I said about the special teams. Now, if this kid from Iowa, the punter, if you want to bring him in, then more power to you. But outside of that, give me Cam Johnston. Damn, that Iowa punter did look good at the Senior Bowl, though. All right, there's the punter talk quota. Number 3, Derek Barnett. This is cheap. Derek Barnett, guy that you got from the Philadelphia Eagles, originally tried to trade a late round pick for him. He came in, great rotational guy. Do I expect him to fill the void by Jonathan Grenard? No, but you're talking about a guy who perhaps has unrealized potential. He fit in nicely here. He made a lot of plays last year based on what you expected. Could just be a perfect situation for him. Bring him in, make him a rotational guy. Perfect world. He's not starting, and he's a guy who comes in and out. But Derek Barnett, number 95, bring him back. Number 2, I still think the Texans should be aggressive in free agency when it comes to a running back. But I would bring back Devin Singletary in the original role. And in the worst case scenario, he's your starting running back in an emergency situation. I would shop at the top when it comes to running back free agents. I would sign Devin Singletary and I would still draft somebody. I think it's that important for the Texans to improve their run game. And let's just be honest. Devin Singletary isn't going to another team and getting an opportunity to start. At least not what I see here. Devin Singletary, if you go back to last year, I know he had a hell of a season. He was great. Could have easily rushed for 1,000 yards had he been the guy from the beginning. He was brought in originally to be the complimentary back to Dameon Pierce. Now, unfortunately, you did that, and he did his thing, and he fits him well, and he's good in the locker room, and there's good value. But if you're giving him a few $1 million a year, hell, you could even give him a multi-year deal. It works, and he can still be getting 12 to 15 touches or whatever, depending on who your other running back is. But sign Devin Singletary at his original role. Might be a little bit more expensive, but it's not like in this day and age with the running back, people are going to be dying to bring in Devin Singletary to be their starting running back. That's just not the case. Number 1, Blake Cashman. I actually think Blake Cashman is going to be a bargain for the Texans. I think he's more valuable here than he is to other teams. We think a lot of him, rightfully so. When he's on the field, he's doing his thing. Good locker room guy, sideline to sideline, all that. You still improve the running back position or the linebacker position, but Blake Cashman has a lot of value here. And I think they like him a lot. I think the price is going to be relatively cheap. So bring in Blake Cashman. So that's my 5 list. Tell me where it was dumb. Tell me where it was smart. Tell me what I said was foolish. How would you handle Jonathan Grenard? How would you handle Dalton Schultz? I've said it. I would wait for the market to play out with Schultz and Grenard. And then if the price is right, jump on it. If not, just keep churning that roster and invest in other assets. But remember, the appeal, the two-way interest has increased. People want to play here. So, if your guys get away, you can figure it out. And I do think there's a development phase here that we haven't had in a long time. And also remember this, falling in love with free agents is dangerous. You want to be the one to get guys at bargains. Falling in love can be dangerous. Fun off season ahead. That's my top 5 list. What's yours? We're in Vegas for the Super Bowl, covering it on Radio Row. Check me out on YouTube, Twitch, on the Sports Radio 610 page daily. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, you already know we are all in it together. Thanks for coming through. Off season, fun times, fun times, fun times.
You know what it is. Let's get locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas